Let's verify. Do billionaires pay lower tax rates than middle-class workers? That's what Kamala Harris said in a recent interview. And Casey Decker with our Verify National team fact-checked her claim. Take a look.
In the final weeks of election season, Vice President Kamala Harris has focused much of her messaging on income inequality. In a recent interview with 60 Minutes, Harris said this about the issue of tax reform.
It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires.
So is that actually happening? Let's verify using these sources. We found this claim is misleading. Here's why. The way income tax rates are calculated right now, you look at the federal tax brackets and apply the rates there to each tier of your income. So your first 11 grand is taxed at 10%, your next 33 grand is taxed at 12%, and so on. Then, any income from selling assets like stocks or property is taxed at a different rate. When you factor that in along with deductions, you get an effective tax rate. The most recent data from the IRS shows that the average effective tax rate for people making more than $10 million a year is 25.1%. Most firefighters, teachers, and nurses make between $50 and $100K per year. In that range, IRS data says the average effective tax rate is 7.5%. Various think tanks conducted their own analyses and came up with similar results. They estimate the richest Americans tend to pay around 25%, while people in the 50 to 100 bracket pay between 5 and 15%. But Harris is likely referring to an analysis done by White House economists, which argues that math doesn't show the full picture. Instead, the White House argues that income should be calculated differently to include something called unrealized gains. That's when people grow their wealth by letting their assets rise in value without selling them. When they want cash, they just use that wealth to get good deals on loans, thus avoiding income and taxes. If unrealized gains were considered taxable income, the White House says the 400 richest Americans would really be paying closer to an 8% tax rate right now. But the current tax code does not account for unrealized gains, so this is a purely theoretical definition of tax rate. For those reasons, Harris's claim that teachers, nurses, and firefighters are paying higher tax rates than billionaires is misleading. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.